Hi, I'm Sandy with Quilted Treasures and More, here with a technique tip. So from time to time I get asked, how exactly do you do a certain technique? In this particular video, we're going to do the Buffalo Plaid technique. Some of the items that I have here are some frog tape, baby wipes, and of course the paint that I've chosen for the color of my plaid, which in this case is Deco Art Americana Black. So I've painted the background white, and I'm going to leave it white. I'm not going to change the color. You can do various colors. I've done green on top of a darker green. I've done blue with a darker blue as the stripes. So it's entirely up to you. But today, we're going to do white with black stripes. So I'm going to get out my frog tape. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take off a piece, not a very big piece, just a short piece. Alright, so that's going to be my spacer tape. This is about 1.5 inches wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a point, and I'm just going to stretch out some painter's tape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my spacer here at the belly part. And then I'm going to stretch this out, and I'm just going to bump it up next to that spacer. And I'm going to smooth that piece out. Make sure your edges are smoothed down. And then I'm going to pick the spacer up, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go toward the top first and then come back down to the bottom. So I'm going to get another piece and bump it up next to that piece. I'm going to speed things up just a little bit, and as soon as I get the rest of it done, then I'll show you our next step. Alright, now that I've got all the tape down, and I'm just going to check the edges and make sure the edges are nice and smooth and up against the wood well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a paper plate, and I'm going to put some of the paint on my paper plate. Not very much. You'd be surprised that the size of a quarter is actually a pretty good amount for most things. Now, I have had to put more paint on, but I usually start out with the size of a quarter, and that way I don't have a whole lot of paint waste. So what we're going to do, I've got a baby wipe in hand, and I've just got it kind of doubled over and kind of make a little bit of a triangle. My finger's not actually in the end of it, but it's close. I'm going to be pushing down some, and so it's not far from the end, as you can see. What I'm going to do is just dab in the paint, and I may take off just a little bit, and I'm just going to start going from one side to the other. Now, the one thing to keep in mind with the baby wipe, the more you wipe, the more that comes off. With the Buffalo Plaid, what you want is to have it look like it's material, and so you're going to have some places that are lighter and some places that are darker. Now, this bottom or first coat that we're doing, we do want darker. Then the coat that we do in the other direction, we're going to make it just a little bit lighter. But you don't want this so dark that you can't see some streaks in it. So I'll go back over mine a few times and just kind of give it a little bit of lightness. You can see a little bit of air or a little bit of the white coming through. Now the coat going the other way will have even more light coming through. All right, so you simply work your way up or down, whichever direction you want to start with or go with first. And you're just wiping this on. Now, you're going to find as you go, your baby wipe is going to get a little drier and a little drier, and you're not going to be able to thin it out like you could in the beginning. Chunk that baby wipe and get another one. You can also move around. So eventually your baby wipe is going to start to disintegrate. So just turn it around, shift it around, grab a little more paint, and keep wiping. And if you look and think, oh, I've wiped off too much, just grab a little more, a little dab on the end, and go back over. All right, well, I'm going to finish out mine. I'm going to speed it up a little bit, but you can see all we're doing is just simply dabbing paint on with our baby wipe, and we're just getting it spread out with a little bit of a thin consistency to it, so that way gives it kind of a material look, kind of that textile look. And as we get to the second layer, or the stripes going the other way, we'll do it even lighter. As you can see, I went back in a few places and kind of touched up a little bit where I thought it was a little too light. And once you get the coats down, or the first layer down, which is the darker layer, if you come back and discover, oh, that's too light, you can always grab just a little dab. You can even dab a little bit off and then come back over and darken it up. And another good reason to have baby wipes around, because this technique can get a little messy. All right, so now we're going to peel the paint. On some projects, you can reuse the tape, especially if it's like a round or a rectangle, then you can save the tape. I'm not sure how much of this tape I'm going to be able to save. I'm going to put it off onto the side of my table here and see what I might can salvage. But as you start to take up your tape stripes, then you'll see the plaid, the first bit of stripes starting to take shape. So what we're going to do is take off this tape. And I already know some of this is not going to be usable, so I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up and have it ready to be thrown away. Next, we're going to run our tape up and down. So again, we'll need to get a measuring piece, because I'm not sure where my measuring piece went. And you may be thinking, well, don't I need to dry this or let it have time to dry? You'd be surprised how quickly it actually dries. But if you touch it, or if you look at it and it still looks a little shiny, you can always take a blow dryer, not on really, really hot heat, but take a blow dryer and go over it and dry it, so that way you can go ahead and start putting the tape up and down. Or if you did up and down to begin with, across, just the opposite direction. Alright, so mine pretty much feels dry. I'm not going to worry about blow drying it. And what I'm going to do is see what I have here that I can use. So I'm going to start here, right here along this edge. And if I can get the tape to where I think it's kind of straight, then I'm going to start measuring. This piece will fit, and so I'm going to use it here. So, while that's down, I'm going to get one more piece. See if I have another long piece here that'll work. Nope. Okay, so I'll grab another piece and measure it out. With each strip you put down, just make sure that the edges go down very smooth. And if by chance, I'm not going to have really room there, so I'm just going to let that go, and then I'm going to move this direction. So I know I've got some smaller pieces, so I'm going to grab them. We're going to get a clean baby wipe, because I pretty much used those two up pretty good. So I'm going to get my baby wipes. And I'm just going to start. You can either start in the middle or you can start on the edge, either way. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to wipe this one thinner. This one's going to be a little more sheer looking. Now you see how you can see the dark lines coming through? That's what I'm looking for. I don't want it to be as dark as the first one. I want it to have a little more sheer look. And again, if you get to the end and you're thinking, oh, there's some that are still too thick, or I don't like the look of that one, you can add to or take away. And I'm just simply working my way down. And again, I'm just getting that look to where it's kind of see-through. You can see the darker line crossing over, and you can see that the top part has a thinner look to it. And I'll just keep working and doing this. until I have each stripe the way I want it. So I may go back from time to time, and you may see me pick up a little more color or put a little color down. I will tell you, sometimes if you're going this way and you think, uh-oh, took off too much, if you go back the other way, sometimes it will smooth it back out and you'll be pleased with the look. Sometimes you do have to actually backtrack, get a little more paint on your baby wipe, and actually add back too. Alright, so I'm going to speed up the process, finish out my little deer here, and then we'll take the tape off and have the big reveal. Alright, so I'm going to move my messy mess out of the way. And I'm just going to look it over real quick before I start taking the tape off and just see if there's anything else that I want to thin out or add to. Alright, now I'm just going to do a little cleanup on myself. This is the second reason why baby wipes are a very good thing to have around when doing Buffalo Plaid, because it makes quick cleanup, or at least enough where you can handle stuff and not feel like you're getting paint all over it. Let's take off the tape and see what we've got. Alright, so here is our Buffalo Plaid baby deer. I'm Sandy with Quilted Treasures and More. Thank you for joining me for this tutorial tip. Join me Sunday evenings for What's on My Crafting Table, where you'll see me use all kinds of different tips and tricks that I've learned. And there's lots of different ways to do each one of these little tips and tricks. This is just the way that I was taught, and so I'm passing it along to you. Thanks so much for watching.